Hi everyone, and welcome to week 2 of the semester. I'm going to start the week by discussing resumes. A little later this week, I'll post a video lecture about cover letters. The first thing you'll need to do when beginning this unit on job application materials is make sure you found a job or internship ad that you want to write your resume and cover letter for. If you haven't done that yet, please exit this video and find a job or internship ad that's relevant to your major and or career goals. Read through that ad and then come back to this video. So let's begin by discussing why anyone should bother learning how to craft resumes in the first place. Resumes are technical documents that show potential employers that you care about what they think of you, and you show them this by taking time to think about how to craft your resume. Resumes are not just formulas. You don't just fill in the blanks for whatever your Microsoft Word template asks for. Resumes are hierarchical. That is, the most important information goes first. For example, if you're applying to a job that requires you to have certain educational experience or skills, you show that first in your resume rather than burying it toward the bottom. Also, remember that your resume will be revised over and over again as you gain experience and expertise in your field. Once you have a solid base document, though, it's more or less just about editing your resume to reflect your new skills and experiences. And remember that this is possibly the last time you'll have someone with experience crafting resumes at your disposal. I won't charge you to give you detailed advice. Professionals can charge up to and exceeding $1,000 for a resume, cover letter, and professionally crafted online bios. It's in your financial interest to learn how to do this yourself. There are a number of common errors people make when writing their resumes. There's some more reading linked at the end of this video, but the big ones are simple: spelling, grammar, or visual inconsistency errors. So imagine you're sifting through possibly hundreds of application documents, and you need to narrow your candidate pile down to 5 or 10. How many errors would you tolerate before you tossed a resume? I have an acquaintance who works for a large firm in Houston whose job it is to do just that. She tosses resumes after the first mistake she finds. If you don't show care in your preparation of your job application materials, why should an employer give you a chance? This is where attention to detail counts. You need to make sure your resume is structured and designed in ways that make your audience's life easier, not harder. When starting your resume, it is absolutely okay to use Microsoft templates, but you don't want to end up there. Put in the time to model your resume's design after a resume that did not rely on Word templates. Google original resume designs or something similar and see what comes up. Design your resume using what you like and ignore what you don't like. Remember that in most cases, you want a simple, clean design. If you're going into a more creative field, a more creative resume might be more appropriate. Use your best judgment. You also want to consider what research teaches us. A team of professionals looked at what 30 real recruiters did when looking at resumes. These participants were fitted with a device that tracked where their eyes moved on a screen. What the researchers found was that recruiters spent an average of 6 seconds looking at each resume. 6 seconds. That's it. The researchers also showed that the recruiters preferred resumes that were simple, clean, and made best use of white space. White space is simply the empty white space that surrounds important parts of your resume. It draws the reader's eyes to that important content. So when crafting your resume, keep these tips in mind. The very first thing is your contact information. This should be the biggest thing on your resume, and it goes at the top. It's the most important information after all. Also, when writing descriptions about previous jobs or other experiences such as volunteering or internships, keep in mind that your descriptions need to remain parallel. That means that your descriptions need to start with active verbs like supervised or managed rather than relying on passive voices to say things like was responsible for. You can also think of this in terms of showing your employer what you can do by telling them what you've done. Don't just tell them that you're responsible and trustworthy. Instead, tell them all the great things that you've done at jobs and let those experiences point to your trustworthiness. Lastly, always maintain parallelism. Each bullet point you write needs to start with an active verb, and your resume should remain visually consistent. If you have these points, 3 points per job for your last 2 jobs, make sure each additional job has 3 bullet points. Also make sure that the lines are similar in length, and other sections like skills make wise use of white space. This slide shows you what I mean by show, don't tell. Instead of telling the reader, I was responsible for maintaining register receipts, simply say, maintained register receipts. That you are responsible is implied here. Similarly, instead of saying that you were in charge of something, simply say, you hired and supervised people. Being in charge is, again, both implied and indicative of your awesome, responsible demeanor. Now this, and the next slide, shows you what I mean about parallelism. You don't need to know the precise definition of parallelism and how it works in more intricate writing. Here, all you need to know is that it asks you, as the writer, to place equally important parts of your writing in equal grammatical form. Parallelism is important in writing. It helps you maintain good tone and flow. It makes reading what you write easier. For your resume, remember that maintaining parallelism in your bullet points is especially important. Here are a few examples of bad and good lists. The first list does not make good use of active verbs. The second one does. You should also remember to use present or past tense active verbs, depending whether you're still in the job or not. And just make sure that you maintain consistent use of past tense verbs within a single bullet list, or present tense verbs if you're still at the job that you're writing about. When thinking about what to include on your resume, break it down into its parts. First, education. What is relevant and what relevant classes have you taken? What special projects have you done that relates to the job? What extracurricular activities have you participated in? Any awards or honors while at college? When thinking about what jobs you've done, consider all kinds: summer, part-time, full-time, co-op, student employment, or something unofficial like babysitting or yard work. Most of you will have one-page resumes, but your first draft should be long and ugly. Content is key in this first draft, so write down all of the details you can think of. We can work on paring it down later. When considering what to write down, think about all the items on this list. Think about how you can quantify your experiences, or how you can express them in numbers. Answer questions like how many, how much, and how little. Think about things in terms of money too. If you saved a company money, how much? Next, think about skills you have that you may have forgotten about. Ask those closest to you what they think your strongest skills are. Ask your mom, dad, siblings, boyfriend or girlfriend, spouse, best friend, or even your boss. Also think about what skills you've gotten from non-job related activities like volunteering. Some of you may feel like you don't have enough experience to effectively fill out a resume. Don't worry, we all have to start somewhere. When writing your resume, don't include any fluff. That is, no unrelated material to fill in blank spaces. Don't include sections that you can't fill. If you don't have any awards or honors post-high school, don't include that information. Generally speaking, it's not a great idea to include any information from junior high or high school unless it's really impressive or really relevant. For example, if you won your regional spelling bee in 8th grade, congrats, but don't put it on your resume. If you won the national spelling bee in 8th grade, yay! You'll definitely want to put that on your resume. This next slide contains links to sites that discuss common resume mistakes according to professionals who work with resumes regularly. These links are also in this week's readings. Make sure you email me if you have any questions while drafting your resume. Thanks.